Hello, everybody. Um, I am a little bit disappointed. I really wanted to get the full build of this for the sake of getting a really good YouTube video, but after like a full day, I just could not get it because of a couple of certain roadblocks in my arena pool. Um, the idea that I had is a way to make the game go theoretically infinite, or to have a battle go theoretically forever. I think that the last way that this was done with like Emu and what would now be Harpy Eagle, where it had infinite triggers, and if you had that on the opposing side with with enough health and low enough attack, you could just summon things infinitely, and then the Emu could regenerate health. That no longer works because there's a trigger limit, but I think I potentially found another way. It's just that I can't do it because of how difficult the arena pool is for accompanying that. Essentially, what has to happen is to get this consistently, you have to face 50-50 ghost teams. Is the way I've found, because you need quite a specific setup on, well, not a specific setup on the opposing board, but you need specific things to not happen. And the easiest way to control that is with 50-50 ghost teams. So my strategy for this run is basically draw as much as possible with hedgehogs, microbes, etc. Get lioness to get the shop to 50-50, transition to badgers, and then use those badgers to endlessly draw until the ghost teams that I face are 50-50. Because if you don't know, the ghost teams, the pets that you see in ghost teams are only pets from the pack you're using, and their stats are based on the turn number you're at. So if you go later on in the turn, then eventually you will get ghost teams with 50-50 stats. So the setup is you need 2 level 2 donkeys on your board and 3 sarcastic fringe heads. This was like a unit that I showcased in an earlier video, but for those unaware, the fringe head will act the same as a rat, but instead of summoning a dirty rat, it will summon a copy of your backmost unit, which can also be a fringe head with an unlimited number of triggers, theoretically. There's no protection to stop it from summoning other fringe heads. So the setup is this. You have 2 level 2 donkeys and 3 fringe heads. The first fringe head will die. It will trade with the first unit. There will be space to summon a fringe head on the opposing board, which will then get moved essentially 2 spaces back because both of the donkeys will trigger. And then we give our fringe head a mushroom. It will respawn, die again without killing anything, and then the donkeys will activate again, and that will push the fringe head on the opposing team to the back. And then is the second fringe head will trade a unit, summon a fringe head at the front. The donkeys are only level 2, so they can't trigger anymore. It'll summon a fringe head at the front, which will die to the next unit. I think to get this to work properly, you would need a mushroom on our second fringe head as well. So both sides would respawn a 1/1 fringe head. They would attack each other. They would both die, and because there's now a fringe head at the back of both teams, they would resummon a 1/1 fringe head on both sides. And that was the idea I had. And I don't see any immediate flaws with it. If somebody else sees something that I don't, then feel free to let me know. Every time I try to do this without facing ghost teams, I would either run into like a snipe of some kind, or a team that's too weak, like a team that doesn't trade 1-for-1 with fringe heads, or maybe like an eggplant or something like that that would mess up the team. That's why I thought initially that the best course of action would be to just try and go for 50-50 ghost teams, because that's the best way you can reliably get teams of a specific stat line, which also do not have any perks. A very notable part of this is that ghost teams don't ever have any perks. But yeah, that also, I mean, it made a pretty interesting restriction on building the pack in which I couldn't have any amount of summons. Because if you have any amount of summons, then there is a chance the ghost team can have that summon at the back. And usually by this point you're on 1 life. So like if there's any remote chance that you can lose to ghost teams, given enough time it will eventually happen. So you really can't have like any summons in the pack at all. And yeah, most of the strategy is just like use grapes to get money, and then have microbe hedgehog. I have a single one up here just to protect against like an early snipe. Like it's safest to put mushrooms on everything, to be honest. Like to put mushrooms on all of the hedgehogs is probably the safest bet. But I mean, after doing the runs for this amount of time, I was kind of familiar with all of the teams in this area, because, like, I'm at 0 wins and 1 life. There's only a couple of teams I can face. And I realized that it didn't end up mattering for any of them. I've got to be kind of careful, because I want enough stats on the hedgehogs where I am able to, like, survive against the teams that will quickly get to, like, 50-50. But I also want not enough stats, like, not so many stats on the hedgehog that I just beat out every team and start getting a lot of wins. Because that's how you end up facing the teams who have, like, done this, gotten their shop to 50-50, and then just gotten like a bunch of good units like leopards and tigers and things like that. And you'll see what ends up ruining this run. I can probably skip ahead a little bit, because nothing that interesting happens for a while. Like, I win a couple, and you can see me pivoting to badges here. And I'm just taking grapes on units, and then you can see here is about to start. Like, we're running into these teams, but because we've transitioned to badges, we can kill our own team and force draws more. Is the idea, at least. And then eventually you just want grapes on everything. You technically want to get all these to level 3 in case of melon. But that's not as big of a priority. And you take microbe to get rid of, like, 1-ups. You have a microbe to do that as well. This team is scary but fine, because it's all just 50-50s regardless. But you'll see what kills this run. We're on turn 25. Yeah, basically we're only looking for levels here. Just like anything to make sure we draw as much as possible. Just freeze another chocolate here. And now, you'll see it immediately when we get into the battle. This guy's running a falcon. I'm not quite sure what happened with this team for it to be at 3 wins and 1 life on turn 25 and have a falcon with melon on it. But it kills us. This guy, El Maxo, and I think the other account was Paka. Paka had like this kind of, well, not this exact thing, but had a full 50-50 team with orcas in it, which would make summons at the end and kill the run as well. So it's literally these two guys and their arena runs is like all I've ran into at this stage, and I cannot get past. Like turn 25 so far is just a hard wall because I cannot physically get past this falcon without like dramatically changing my team. And then I'm not set up to draw elsewhere. Yeah, like all of these die and then the badger summons and then I lose off of that. It's super sad. And like I really wanted to try and get this infinite going. Cause I thought I was being so 5-head with it. Because I don't think this is anything anybody's come up with yet. But unfortunately I just have not been able to do it in a full day, and I really don't want to put that much time into trying to get it. If anybody watching wants to go for it and like send me a video on Discord, that would be awesome. But I would recommend not going for it because you are probably going to run into these same people as roadblocks. All I can hope is maybe people will run into this team instead. Maybe people will run to this team instead and they can get there. But yeah, as of right now, these teams are completely blocking this run from happening. So yeah, thank you for watching anyway. Have a wonderful day.